This episode of Bulletproof Cash Flow is brought to you by Realty Dynamics. Learn how people like you can build substantial passive income while creating wealth for the long term through real estate investing. Visit rdyne.com. That's RDYNE.com.
I make myself put in a situation where they have to put me up there. I'm not a celebrity, right? I'm not an athlete that's going to come be the spotlight speakers on that stage. But okay, well, I'm not that. So how can I make them put me up on that stage? That's what goes through my mind.
Working because you want to, not because you have to, is financial freedom. And we want to help you create that. Welcome to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We're going to teach you how to achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host is a multifamily syndicator and property developer. He's done deals reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars. You'll hear from experts in all aspects of real estate investment, finance, development, and management. Everything you need is right here. This is the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. And this is your host, Augustino Pintus.
Hey everyone, it's Augustino. The life of a real estate entrepreneur can be tough. We sometimes hit on some crippling setbacks that makes us question whether we should be doing anything at all. Now, if you guys know my story, you know I faced some of these challenges myself, but I think what you're going to find in today's guest is that he's going to have a very great message about overcoming challenges and becoming unstoppable. Now, at a very young age, he faced a lot of volatility at home. After being told by his dad he'd end up on the streets one day, he took it as an insult and as a challenge to fuel him for years to come. Now, this fueled him to eventually build an online marketplace, a business blueprint, so to speak, that offers step-by-step processes to succeed in a variety of industries. Now he is consumed with the passion to help people break free from the confines of complacency and to propel to untapped levels of success. Today, he is a performance coach, an author, dynamic public speaker, tech visionary, and thought leader. He has been featured by Yahoo Finance as one of the top business leaders to follow in 2020, and he is on a mission to build unstoppable people. Additionally, he is the host of the What Are You Made Of podcast, and he's the author of the best-selling book, Rocket Fuel, Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable. With all that, I'd like to welcome Mike C-Roc Ciorrocco. Mike, buddy, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it, Augustino. And I always start every interview I go on with gratitude because it means the world to me to be able to have the opportunity to share, obviously bring value to your show, but also to share with your audience. And I want to thank you and thank the audience for showing up.
You bet. Hey, and I'm grateful that you decided to join us today. I really want to appreciate that. So, guys, if you like what Mike has to say, you can reach him via his contact page at mikecroc.com. We'll include a link in the description. Okay, Mike, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, so I came from a broken home. I don't remember my parents together. You know, I grew up around a lot of brokenness. None of this really matters because we all go through stuff. It really doesn't matter. Everybody has their ups and downs. Everybody starts at a position that hopefully they don't stay in. And I just realized at a young age, I started watching people, and I was around a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics. And the only reason I'm telling this story is not for you to feel sorry for me, but I want to share a cognition that I had at a young age. I recognized that the people that were suffering from depression and anxiety and using drugs to overcome that or just squash it, so to speak, they all had a story that they were telling themselves. They always had a story of why they were doing it. And then they would live out that story. So a lot of times people think that you do things and you experience things and then you tell a story about it, when actually you start telling a story ahead of time and then you start living that story. And I just realized that. And I would never buy into their BS. I would call them out on it at a young age. And it took courage to do that because there's times where people didn't want to be around me anymore. There's times where, people took it the wrong way. They resented me for it. But, at the end of the day, I don't want those types of people around me anyway, family or not. I want people around me that tell them the story of why they're going to be successful and the dreams that they have and the visions that they have. And so many people are stuck in this this kind of trap where they feel, well, it's my family, so I have to be around them, or it's my friends, I have to be around them. And really that comes down to just being comfortable and trying to feel safe. And I was just never okay with that. I always wanted to go on to the new thing and the next big thing. And so I just knew that if I was telling them that their stuff was BS, I had to buy into my own stories of why I was going to be successful, why I was going to make big things happen and lead people, instead of telling myself stories of why I was failing or make sense of why I was failing. So at a young age, I did that. So I've always been a people builder at heart. And what I mean by that is, I want to make sure that people understand the right way to go about an ideal life, being unstoppable to living the life of their dreams. And I've just worked through that with sports, school, friends, and then on up into my career, just making sure that I'm always on a mission to help people, build people, elevate people, despite the traps that there are to succumb to complacency and buying in and not paying attention to your environment. And and that's kind of where it started.
Nice. So, it's interesting, something you said, which is something that resonated with me, is the story you tell yourself, right? And I think that's where it all begins, is what does the story of me tell me personally, right? Everyone's in control of what we tell each other, or tell ourselves rather, right? And that is the most important story, more important than anything else you have going on in your life, is who are you and what are you about? And if you tell yourself a story that you're a drug addict, then that's exactly what you're going to be. If you tell yourself you're going to be a real estate entrepreneur, it's exactly what you're going to be, or at least try to fulfill that goal, so to speak, right? So how does someone go about doing that? How does someone go about making that change? Like maybe they want to be a real estate entrepreneur, but to want versus to actually do is two very different things, right? So kind of like how would you help somebody bridge a gap like that?
Well, first, it all stems from figuring out what you want, and a lot of times it takes people to just have enough. They just had it. I've had enough. I'm tired of being tired. Or sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom. But those that get clear on an ideal mission, an ideal life, the life of their dreams, the fastest, and then commit to that vision and then take action towards that vision, their thoughts, words, actions, and their environment that they keep go towards that mission. The faster you can do that, the faster you'll have success. And so it's not about trying either. Like a lot of people, are, into the thing, well, you just got to try. And I'm not about that, because trying gives you an out. Trying gives you an opportunity to fail and then make sense of that failure. I like to just do or be and decide that I'm going to step into that. Right now I'm taking acting lessons, and I just made a decision one day after I was writing my goals. And one of the things that popped up in my head is, man, you like be a movie star. And I'm 45 years old, and I had this thing come to my head. I'm not going to negotiate with that. I'm going to write it down, and then I'm going to find out if that's real. And I'm going to see if it keeps popping up, and it does. And so what I did was I started talking to some mentors of mine and people that were in acting and producing and screenwriting. I said, you know what? I want to be an actor. I don't want to just be an actor. I want to be in movies, and I want to be a star. And how would you go about doing that if you were in my position? And then I started just making sure people knew when I put out my bio, my Clubhouse bio or wherever, actor. Because you don't become an actor, you just decide to be one, and then you are. You don't like put it out there and then I just start doing it. And so that's the kind of things I do. If I want to be a real estate investor, I want to be a real estate professional, just start doing it. Step into it and do it. Get rid of all the excuses, get rid of all the thinking, and start doing and being. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but something you said a second ago, something I do currently is you're writing down your goals, right? Like I'm going to guess that I probably do it every morning. You sit down, you probably write out what's coming to mind right now. The same thing keeps repeating over and over and over again. Maybe it's something you ought to be focused on. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things to get focused on and distract you. And I just know that it all disappears when you start focusing on what you want. And I'm so clear on what I want. I think about it every day, every morning, every night before I go to bed. I dream about it. I write it down. Everything I do is revolving around this mission of going towards where I want to go in my ideal life. And the people that I keep around me have to be in alignment with that. My wife, my kids, my employees, my partners. Like if they're not, we just have to part ways. No emotion, just no personal feelings. Just it is what it is. Otherwise, you're sacrificing your dreams. Otherwise, you're giving up on the potential that you were blessed with. And I'm just not okay with doing that.
Hey, Augustino here, and I would love to connect directly with you. Text the word books to 844-428-1344 to receive weekly book recommendations from me. And I totally agree. It's I guess what it does is it sets the tone for what for that story you got to tell yourself. Now, how do you build a foundation to keep you on track then? So once you do this, like once you write out your goals and you're trying to stay true to those goals, how do you build that foundation? How do you maintain that? Well,
and by the way, when you have a vision, when you do have this vision, nobody else is going to see the vision like you do.
Correct. Yeah,
so it's very easy to get frustrated when other people aren't going in the direction you want, or they're not in alignment with you, or if they say they're in alignment and then you find out that they're not doing what you expected or what have you. You just got to realize that they don't have the picture in front of them. They don't have it like you do. So once you get really clear, you got to understand, one, they don't understand yours. Two, 95% of people don't even have their own. So I just wanted to throw that in there. How do you build a foundation on it? Well, first of all, when you get clear, I call it my 3 C's. You get clear, you get committed, and you get consistent. And once you do that, I think it's important to start asking the question, how, at that point. Once you commit, don't wait to commit and, ask how first. How could I do this if I wanted to do this? How could I find this out? Who could I talk to? And you start asking yourself questions and you become really hyper aware for opportunities to come into your way. There's things all around us at all times. We just can only focus on a certain amount of them. A very small percentage of energy and activity that's going on around us, people, anything in our environment. Our brain cannot take in all the perceptions and senses. It's just impossible. So how do we direct a small percentage of data? How do we control that data? Well, we do it by getting really clear on what we're looking for. And once we're really clear on what we're looking for, then that's the stuff we see. You don't see all the negative stuff. You don't see all the distractions. And so that's how you build the foundation. Then you start seeing the opportunities. And when you see the opportunities, you know it, and then you grab onto it and you take advantage of it. Whether it's people, places, things, events, whatever it is.
Yeah. I think something you just said too, you almost like can't worry about what other people think, because if you do worry about what other people think, you're going to get frustrated very, very quickly, right?
Yeah. So when you're sure of who you are, I've done a lot of work on myself, and when you find out who you really are, and you're comfortable in your own skin and with your spirit and soul, like you don't worry about that. It's not something. That's something that generally what people think of you is really a reflection of themselves. What they think of themselves, they just see it in you. So that's not my problem. And if I'm going about my business, going after my mission, and somebody has a problem with it, that's for them to figure out. So I don't slow down because of that. And just let me tell you a quick story. If you guys like stories, I'll share a story with you. I went to 10X Growth Con back in 2019. It was February 2019. And it was the one that Grant had at Marlin Stadium.
I was there. Yeah,
okay. That was my first one. And I watched the speakers, and this was my first real event that I've been to. I've been to maybe one or two others. I just never invested in myself that much back then. That's short 3 or 4 years ago. But since then, the growth and the change that has happened is monumental. And let me share with you why. So since that event, and by the way, while I was sitting there, I was watching Pete Vargas share his story. I watched Jesse Itzler. I watched Steve Harvey. I watched Grant do his thing. I just sat there and watched these guys, and I'm like, I could do this. Why have I been wasting my life? I wasn't wasting my life, but I felt like at that moment, I'm like wasting my life, my potential, my talents, my abilities to only be where I am. And what the problem is, I didn't know something. I didn't have data. For whatever the reason, I just didn't know. Once I knew, though, it was over. I'm like, I committed at that time. I will be on that stage. I will impact millions of people. I will start sharing my story. And everything I do will be to create unstoppable people. And I, of course, will be unstoppable. I made a commitment at that day. And 2 growth cons later, I was scheduled on the second one after that to go to in Vegas. Dana White shows up unexpectedly. They had no time. I got bumped for just sharing a testimony on stage, but nonetheless being on stage. Then a year after that, I got on stage again. Or had the opportunity. I got on stage to share my story of what the transformation has been since I've been involved with the 10X community, right? Then after that, I started a tech company, and I got Grant and his team involved, Jared Grant, involved with tech. So they started a 10X incubator. This all happens because of the stuff that was going on. I generated with my team over $31 million in revenue since that first Growth Con. I wrote a best-selling book and had Grant write the forward. I have a hit podcast called What Are You Made Of that have had most successful people on the planet, multi-billionaires, celebrities, athletes, people that nobody's heard of before, that their story is just phenomenal. I've had that opportunity. My wife and my relationship has blown up. I lost 18 pounds. I've gotten a team or a community around me of unstoppable people now in this short period of time from 2019 till now. 3 years. I've done more in 3 years than the rest of the 42 years of my life because of that, because of my formula. But by the time we end the show, I'll give you guys the link to check it out. I wrote a formula for how to do this, how to get the most out of events, how to get the most out of when you're being mentored or coached by someone. I'll give you guys that link, prior to us cutting off here.
Yeah. It's funny. I was at the same Growth Con, and I think at that point I was doing real estate, and but I think I don't know what it was. I watched all those interviews the same way you did, or the not interviews, but I guess you want to call on stage. And ever since then, now we're in 3 lines of business. We have 1,600 units. Have transacted over $250 million of real estate already, and we're not even close to done yet. The goal is $200 million per year now. So it's wild, right? But I think it's instituting many of those things that happened there in your real life, and I think a big part of it comes down to the long and short of it is defining what you want and your goals. I mean, that really is what it all comes down to, right?
Clarity.
It's like, is this the best you got? That's what, and you have to ask yourself that every day. Is this the best you can do? If the answer is no, then you really need to be kicking it up.
And
That's
then continuing to be around people like that to think the same way. Clear your environment. You have to clear your environment. And then, like this weekend, I'm just coming back from Miami yesterday. I was on stage for 15 minutes, sitting in a chair, being interviewed by Jared Grant with 2 other successful people, Brandon Dawson, and my face up on a big screen. And it wasn't for me, by the way. The only reason I went up on that stage is to inspire other people, because it fits my mission that all people are unstoppable to live in the life of their dreams. And I'm up there now and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm sitting on a stage. Donald Trump just shared the stage. Rick Ross, the hip hop star, multi-billionaires, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, of course, Grant. And I get the opportunity to sit on the stage because I got clear of what I wanted and I went after it. And of course, I've had the support of other people around me because they see the mission that we're on. I mean, it's just a great opportunity to really inspire people, man.
I want to take a pause from today's show to share something that I've been encountering. As I speak to many investors, there's this concern, and the concern is centered around the inflation we've been experiencing and the devaluation of our currency. Now, we've seen some of the highest inflationary periods over the past 30 years. That's up over 8%. Economists actually believe that inflation is closer to 20%. Some say it's even more. Now, what does this mean for you? Well, it means that money that is sitting in your bank account or self-directed IRA that's not invested in physical assets that hedge against inflation are losing buying power. That means that every minute, every second, that dollar is becoming less valuable. You see this every day. You see this in the groceries you buy, the gasoline you buy, everyday items that you're buying on a daily basis are becoming more and more expensive, and you're using a less powerful dollar to buy these items. Meaning that dollar is losing value if it isn't put into a property that produces cash flow, just like real estate does. Now, our team here at Bulletproof Cashflow has put together a series of weekly webinars that cover real estate investing like multifamily, net lease, and real estate development. Now, these are purely educational webinars. In these webinars, we talk about why real estate offers a powerful opportunity right now and why it makes sense to invest in these assets today. So, if you're interested in real estate or want to have the opportunity to get involved as a hedge against inflation yourself, I encourage you to go to bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. That's bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. Now you go there, these webinars are 45 minutes and they cover different topics every week. We go over the things you need to know to avoid some of the common pitfalls when it comes to investing while getting you prepared to invest your paper dollars into a real physical asset. Now, if you can't make the webinars, just go ahead and register and we will send you a recording that you can watch at any time. And by the way, these webinars are entirely free. There's no cost to you. This is just something that we do to educate our folks out there. So if you're enjoying this episode, please like and subscribe to Bulletproof Cashflow. It helps the channel tremendously when you do. Now let's go ahead and get back to the show.
It really is. I mean, and that's the thing. I think clarity really is, just like I said, it is the justifying moment for yourself. If you can come up with that, whatever that thing is, maybe you can't figure it out yourself. Maybe you do need to get outside help, get a coach, get someone to help you really gel what it is you want to really be doing. It's everything. Because if you can't figure that out, you're going to be lost forever.
Yeah, the other thing, Agostino, no matter what it is, you see other people doing something and you want to do it, you make yourself a seat. Like hey, let me pull up a chair, pal. So the way I look at this is I make myself put in a situation where they have to put me up there. I'm not a celebrity. Right? I'm not an athlete that's going to come be the spotlight speakers on that stage, but okay, well, I'm not that. So how can I make them put me up on that stage? That's what goes through my mind. I'm just sharing, like being transparent. Like I will make it happen.
Yeah. But the thing is though, I know you're being humble right now too, but there's a lot of stuff that happened since the first time you went to TEDx to the time that you're on stage now, right? It's kind of like you actually put in the work in yourself and in growing these businesses and writing the books and doing and getting in front of the right people to get you up there. So no one's just gonna hand it to you. You kind of have to put in the work up front, And I say that only because every once in a while we'll hear from someone they're looking for things for free, so to speak, which I don't mind helping people out, but at the same time too, it's like there's a lot of work that goes into building that success, right? It just doesn't happen overnight, and no one's going to hand it to you. You really have to work at it.
The journey is often invisible, the journey to success, and nobody's seen everything that I've done. Nobody's been with me when I felt like quitting. Nobody's been with me when I felt like not doing it, and I did it anyway. When it got hard and I pushed through, and nobody's been there, all those times. My wife has been around most of it. My assistant, Kim, she's been there through a lot of it. My partners. But nobody's been there for all of it. And, I've done probably close to, at this point, 1,000 podcast interviews between mine and other people's. People don't always see all that, And so there was a lot of work. But you know what? When you're committed and you're clear, you don't realize that you're doing all that. You really don't. You don't realize that like when you make everything that you do, think about and say, go towards the mission, it just becomes a way of life. And then other people may observe it and they might be like, you did all that, or how do you do all this stuff? I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even know I'm doing it all. Like, I don't even realize it. Right. So, but again, I'm just like anybody else. Broken home. My mom was broke. We didn't, we'd go on vacation to the Jersey Shore, 6 of us all in one car, black trash bags as our suitcases, staying at the motel, Heart of Wildwood, New Jersey, in a 1-bedroom, two double bedroom with 6 of us sleeping on the floor. And we would bring friends with us. So it would be like 8 of us because we'd bring our, some friends of ours to go on a trip and family vacation with us. 8 people in one room. And so luckily we had vacation, but I'm not different than a lot of people. I just found the formula and I followed it. And so I want to be an inspiration to other people to show you like anybody can do this. When I set on my journey, Agostino, to do the podcast, write my book, the reason I did it is because I noticed these successful people. I started studying them and I realized their journey was invisible. You'd hear about their success. They'd give you bits and pieces of what they did to get there, but you really didn't see everything. And I wanted to expose that. And I promised from day one that as I went on the journey to where I was going, that I would definitely share and be transparent with the journey.
Yeah. Now, what goes through your mind when you hear the word adversity?
Fuel. It reminds me of my book, Rocket Fuel. Like adversity to me it's part of the game because I think everything we're doing is a game. We're playing a game and it's not so serious. And adversity is kind of like, you're trying to run the football and somebody's trying to tackle you, or they're trying to block you and you're trying to tackle the ball carrier, or the pitcher's trying to strike you out. That's adversity. And that's part of the game, right? If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have a game to play. And so my rocket fuel law that I created in the books about is to take adversity, take discouragement, take setbacks, take anything that would stop or slow a normal human being down and store it in your tank instead of your trunk. Most people store everything in their trunk and it weighs them down and slows them down. I store it in my tank, convert it into rocket fuel. And if you do that, you take everything that would stop or slow you down and use it as fuel, you can become unstoppable. That's the concept. And it works, trust me. Because like I said, I got an opportunity to be on a stage that I had my eyes set on 3 years ago. And I can't, sometimes I get amazed at some of the things we're doing. Like I'm partnered with Grant and tech companies in 3 short years.
That's pretty awesome.
It's wild, man. And I still haven't taken it all in because I don't think I've gotten nearly where I'm going to go. I think I'm just getting started. And again, it's not about me. Everything changed when I stopped making it about me and I started making it about other people.
Interesting. So when you make it about other people, though, how do you do that? Like, and how do you manifest that specifically? Like, is it individuals calling you? Is it just through your books, through your shows, or is it through coaching? Because I know you do have a coaching element as well that you do. Like, how do you make it about other people exactly?
Well, to me, I think it was Zig Ziglar said, you give enough people what they want, you'll get what you want. Right? And I never really understood that. I'm like, how can that be? Because how can you count on other people to give you stuff? Well, you help people, you give to people, and those folks that you're giving to don't necessarily have the resources to give back to you. It is a cycle, though. So when you give, you will receive, and it's not necessarily from the people that you give to or pay attention to or contribute to. It comes from the sources around that do have those resources, and they give to you, and a lot of times you don't have it to give back to them. But it is a cycle. And so for me, like standing on stage, I don't get nervous standing on stage. One, I'm prepared and I put a lot of work in talking. But two, it's not about me. I'm not going to let the judgment keeper, the safety mechanism of judgment, worrying about what people think of me. I'm not going to let that get in the way. I'm not going to worry about what people think because I'm there for them. I'm not going to let my ego get in the way. If something doesn't go the exact way I think it should, I'm not called up in time. I'm not going on the time I'm supposed to. I'm not interviewed by myself. I'm up on a panel instead of being interviewed by myself. None of that matters. That's ego. What if the music didn't play right, or if the lights weren't right, or if people didn't clap, or if people didn't show up to something? That's ego. That ego's in there only to keep me safe. And I got to keep that at bay. It's a good thing to have to keep you safe, but you can't let it get out of whack. And I just don't let any of that stuff affect me because I understand that I'm doing this to inspire and impact and pour into other people.
And the funny thing is that many people don't even understand that whole ego element, why it's even there to begin with, right? It's really meant to be an internal check and balance to keep us safe. And for the most part, it's usually wrong, right? This ego, this fear that we sometimes have, if we're going to do something major, where sometimes we're afraid, and that fear is there to keep us safe from making a potential mistake, and I think part of it is you have to be able to overcome those sorts of things, right?
Look at Will Smith. Ego. Will Smith just recently, he went up there to smack Chris Rock because of his ego. It wasn't necessarily about his wife. Trust me, it wasn't about his wife. It was about him. How are people going to view me? Judgment. And then his ego, if I don't go up there and do something about this. But if he would have kept them at bay and realized that doesn't really matter, and if he just didn't do anything at all, it would have rolled over in 12 to 17 seconds. Everybody would have forgot about it. He would have been able to advance and grow instead of staying small. And because of that, he stayed where he's obviously very successful and big, but he didn't grow from that experience at that moment. Like he shrunk,
That's right. Now, what goes through your mind when you're by yourself?
I'm always thinking about what do I got to do next? Like I'm thinking about when I accomplish something, I don't really celebrate too long. I just on to the next thing. What's next? That's one thing. And the other thing is, what is the one thing I can do right now that's the most impactful to go towards my mission? There's a lot of things that you can get focused on and distract you, and it's all over, and chaos and confusion is all around you. And I just grab onto one thing. And what's that one thing I can be most impactful with, or what's the highest leverage item right now? That's truly what I'm like. It's always going through my mind, man. And it's just, I don't really relax.
Well, There's no time. There's no time to relax. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's time to relax. I'm going to go on a family vacation in a couple weeks with the family. And even then, I'm going to be like, how can I grow here?
Right.
How can I impact someone here? You know, and that's
it's about keeping your curiosity running, and no matter what, as long as you're alive, it's kind of like you're always thinking that way. I mean, I know I do anyway. I mean, I'm always thinking about how do I grow, how to become better, even when I'm taking time off and I do the whole air quotes thing. It's only because even when I am traveling somewhere and trying to enjoy the weather or whatever it is that might be around me, I'm always thinking about how do I improve myself. Maybe it's even listening to an audiobook, something, anything. It's kind of like it's to keep the curiosity going, because if you lose it, it's it's really detrimental to your success, in my opinion.
100%. And by the way, I speak to myself a lot. I do. This is where "What Are You Made Of" came from. It's because I ask myself those questions. Things get tough. I don't feel like doing something, man. It's like, do it anyway. What are you made of? Like, come on, like. And I want somebody around me all the time that's thinking the same way as I do. So I talk to myself because I need that, right? So yeah, I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah. So for someone listening right now, if you had a piece of bulletproof advice for them, what would you tell them?
I mean, the main thing I always talk about, the 3 C's: get clear, commit, and be consistent towards that clarity. I mean, that's it. It's not any more difficult than that. It's not rocket science.
Good. I know you got some information on your site, and you have some other info you want to share, correct?
Yeah. So we started a platform called Blueprinted, and Blueprinted is a marketplace for step-by-step guides to achieve a goal in any category. I basically took categories off of nonfiction books, self-help books, business books, and put them in our platform. And we're bringing experts and creators in to create step-by-step processes to achieve an outcome. And you can buy those on the marketplace, Blueprinted. Matter of fact, I have one that I created on how to get the most out of an event, how to get the most out of coaching and mentorship. If you're going into like a clubhouse room or anything and listen to someone, how do I get the most out of that? And that is at Blueprinted. That's BLOO printed.com/10x. If you go to that, you can buy that blueprint. It's $97, I think. We're going to start selling it for $1,000, but right now, since I just came off GrowthCon, we are letting people take access to it earlier. And I think it was just under 1,500 people have registered so far just from this past weekend.
Wow, nice, excellent. Yeah, it's so guys, definitely check that out. Good stuff. All right, well, guys, listen. If you want to reach out to Mike and learn more about his journey, you can reach him via his website at MikeCroc.com. Again, we'll include a link in the description. Don't forget to check out his stuff at Blueprint with 2 O's, Blueprint.com. Correct? Blueprinted.com. So go ahead and check that out. Hope you got inspired here, guys. I mean, there really is a lot to the entrepreneurial journey, and a big part of it is overcoming that self-talk, that negative self-talk that impacts everyone. So, the only way to achieve greatness is to push through it and just, be relentless for success. All right. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had fun. Make sure to visit our Apple Podcast page and leave us a 5-star review. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. For real estate coaching, events, and resources, hit up bulletproofcashflow.com. Till next time.
No information in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are limited to accredited or sophisticated investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice.